My name is Jason Scheurer. My company name is Best Tex Contracting, Design, Build, and Remodel. And a lot of people say, well, why do you call yourself Best? And Best is an acronym for Buildings Energy Science Technicians. And I'm affiliated with Passive House, California, and I am based in the Southern California area of Orange County. The reason why I became a contractor is I was working for my uncle back in the early 80s when I was in high school during the summertime. He was the project manager for track homes. And so I was helping doing a lot of miscellaneous pickup work and digging trenches and anything that he couldn't get anybody to do. And so I would go and do it. And then I started moving into working on the model homes when certain things would go wrong, or I'd go over there and fix them for them, which was kind of a cool way to get introduced into the contracting field. I thought it was great. I always wanted to be an architect when I was a kid. Never fulfilled that dream, but got stuck in the contracting field anyways. I went to architectural school for about 8 months through a trade school and learned how to draw blueprints and read and write them, which was a really big help. And then I got straight into the construction industry, learning how to frame homes from the ground up, and then working for a general contractor who basically remodeled homes from the ground up. So that's kind of what got me interested in the contracting field itself. I've had several different contracting companies over the years, and what we would do is we finally changed our name to Best Tex Contracting. We incorporated and was just trying to specifically specialize in energy efficiency, building science, and things like that. So Best Tex Contracting came to fruition, and it's been in business since 2017. But I've been in the industry for over 40 years and been on my own for about 33 years now. So it's been a long time out in the field, learning everything from the ground up, paperwork, trying to run the business, and then doing hands-on out in the field. Well, I first heard about Passive House back in probably 2017 or 18, after I've done all kinds of other classes and learning building science through like the California Building Performance Association, which is now Efficiency First California. I took classes through them, really strict 3-week training course, and then field testing, and which got us certified through BPI. But learning the first 4 hours in class, most of the students in that class were general contractors also. We all said the same thing: we should have never got our license until we were taught building science. And now that we know how to build better and use building science to test and measure our outcomes of what we're installing in people's homes, really makes a big difference. I did my BPI training back in 2006, along with Build It Green's Greenpoint rated training. And then my company had the opportunity to build first of its kind all green home in downtown Huntington Beach. And everybody was saying, well, you don't want to introduce BPI into a new construction. So my next question to them was, so you want me to build it to code first and then go back and fix it after I make all these screw ups? And they go, yeah, that's what you have to do. I said, well, I'm not going to do that. So I learned, as I was building this house, I learned how to test and measure the things I was installing to make sure they were properly done before I moved on to the next phase of work or through the next inspection, which I think was really important. And then gotten introduced to the Passive House, a decade or two later. I'm like, wow, this is the next step. This is way better than, existing homes. This is something to learn how to really make homes perform. And so I went through the certified Passive House designer / consultant class, thinking it was the trade. What's funny is a lot of the people that are on the board of Passive House California were in my same class. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me to join Passive House California once I was completed with that. So after I did my training through the designer class, I then went over to Emu in Colorado when they started doing their online training for the certified passive house tradesperson. They're pretty close to being the same, except for the testing itself. The trade was a lot easier for me than the design part. And all the contractors that were in the class were really good. There's like 4 groups of us that were building I think they're called the passive house pods, but they also had a code built pod. And then we can compare what the differences of them are when we were doing a heat load calculation on them. So it was really cool. I enjoyed the class a lot. I think I like to educate people. I used to be a national trainer for about 7 years too. So I was flying around the country training people. So becoming part of that Passive House California board was a no-brainer for me. I think by helping me, I think it's more like that it has helped my business being in there. But I think I've also been helping other people achieve what they want to achieve by being part of the Passive House community. Okay, so the most recent passive house project I'm working on right now that's in the construction phase is one that I'm building the first of its kind certified passive house ADU, which is an accessory dwelling unit, which are becoming very popular now in California since the new laws have been into place. And I'm actually building it for an owner builder, which happens to be my cousin. I'm helping him do the envelope phase of it, and then he's coming in and doing all the finish work on the inside. And we're basically at the finished plumbing and electrical right now. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be totally completed with the project and we'll be getting our blow door numbers here very soon. Because I'm one of the very few passive house tradespeople in the Southern California area, we're getting a lot of calls from homeowners that actually are thinking about passive house because they've been learning about it, which is good. They're mostly worried about what does it cost to build. I think we need to move into the future and say, hey, I know these things cost a little bit more, but so did putting the outhouse inside of your home. So did putting the electricity into your home. It costs more money, but now everybody's used to it. Take a look at the wildfires we're having. I think for people to understand that if you build towards passive house standards, if your house is more airtight than today's codes, then you're going to have less of a chance of your house burning down in a fire situation. If your house is airtight, then the outdoors is not trying to get inside that house. So it's less likely to burn down. It makes a lot of sense. And I think the biggest thing about it is it uses very little energy, up to 70% less energy than new construction today, and up to 85% less energy than an existing home. Just by applying certain principles and techniques, you can achieve a very comfortable, durable home that uses less energy. So I think when it comes to the built environment in the next 20 to 50 years, I would really like to see our California codes change to be more strict towards passive house standards. We do know that New York's already taken it on. I think Massachusetts has, the city of Denver and Colorado has taken it on. So a lot of these different states and cities are taking on passive house as their standard build. And, California is usually the leader in this, and we're still dragging our feet about what do we want to do with it? Trying to get the contractors on board and learn passive house. It's really not that difficult to do. And I think just hopping in the construction trade, it's a lot to know, right? But if you just introduce passive house, you're already doing all this stuff anyways. You're just doing it better. You're checking with diagnostic tools and equipment to make sure that, hey, if I install this sheathing on this wall, is it airtight? Or how about before we actually put our exterior siding on the house, why don't we hose down the walls with our water hose and see if the windows are leaking, see if we see any water coming into the building. And just by doing those certain things is telling you if you don't see any water coming to the house after you've made it airtight, watertight on the outside, then you're building towards passive house standards. You're meeting certain criteria that make sense. Why assemble a building and then cross your fingers to hope that it's not going to leak? And yes, it does take a little bit more time, but your client is also now going to be happy. The fact is that you checked it before you closed it up and they possibly or hopefully know that, hey, this house is future proofed for 20, 50, 100 years, where I'm not going to have the damage like my next door neighbor has due to moisture issues and penetrations coming into the home.